And let's take you to South Africa now, quite a bizarre one as we saw it yesterday. Now, a 49-year-old man has been arrested and charged with arson after a fire broke out at South Africa's Parliament building in the early hours of yesterday morning. Now, firefighters in Cape Town battled to contain the fire that has severely damaged the House of Parliament, which is based in the city centre.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa called the fire, and I quote, a terrible and devastating event. Now, it is the second time that a fire has broken out at a historic building in as many months. Now, in the month of March, which was last year of 2021, fire swept through the very same building.
This is devastating news. It's a terrible and devastating event, particularly after we gave the Arch what I would call the best send-off yesterday. Yesterday was a day crowned with celebration, a day crowned with sending off our beloved Archbishop, and to wake up to the devastating news of the burning down of the National Assembly or Parliament is just really a terrible setback to what we were basking in yesterday. Arch would have been devastated as well, because this is a place that he not only supported, prayed for, and wanted to see as the repository of the democracy that he worked.
All right, so the Archbishop just went too late to rest one day, and the next South Africans wake up to fire in Parliament building. Well, joining us this morning to break down all of these events is Candice Bailey. Candice, morning to you, and Happy New Year still, fire or not?
Happy New Year, Breakfast Central team. Morning. Good to be on your show this morning. It is definitely a very sad start to the new year for South Africans. And in a statement that the president put out yesterday, you know, he said it most aptly, that it's the burning of the home of democracy. So many South Africans very upset by what's happening at Parliament over the last 48 or so hours.
All right, now, Candice, we understand that a 49-year-old man has been arrested and charged with arson, but do we know how the fire really started?
We don't know too much detail yet. What we do understand is that this man, this 49-year-old man, will be going to court tomorrow, and that's probably when we will start to hear more detail. We know that he got in through a back door, a back window, pardon me, at the parliamentary precinct. Why he was getting into the building, we do not know yet. But we also know that he's now been charged with housebreaking and theft under the National Key Points Act. Now, the National Key Points Act is the act that really regulates all buildings that have been declared national key points, government buildings that have been declared national key points by our government, and it regulates the behavior and activities that should be taking place there. So he's definitely being charged and will appear in court tomorrow, and that's when we'll start to get more detail about what's actually happening.
All right, Candice, well aptly put by President Ramaphosa about fire in the House of Democracy itself in South Africa. Do you have any indications of the kind of damage that's been done to the building? And there's also talk about the sprinklers perhaps not working.
There is definitely reports this morning of the sprinklers not working only. So what we do know is that the South African Hawks, which is a police agency, are actually investigating this fire now and looking forward to see what actually happened. In terms of the damage, what I can tell you is that our parliamentary precinct is made up of 3 buildings. So there's the old assembly, which is dating to colonial times. It dates to the 1800s, the buildings in that area. But we also have a new assembly wing. And what we understand is that in the old assembly, the building's roof, pardon me, has collapsed. And in the new assembly wing, which is now the place that houses the National Assembly chamber, that has also incurred quite significant damage. In the last 24 hours, the fire is not yet contained. It appears the firefighters have been scaled down. We've got about 20 firefighters on the scene at the moment, and they are still quelling hotspots, from what it appears. But they did struggle late into the night to try and get the fire under control.
Wow, Candice.
Sorry, to continue around, I just want to give you a little bit more around the damage and what we think is damaged. You know, Parliament houses about 5,000 historic memorabilia that really tells the story of South Africa's history over the past and odd years, even more. So there are artifacts, there are paintings, there are tapestries that are likely to have been affected and damaged by this. I mean, the artworks that are hosted at Parliament, I think only about 300 of these 5,000 items are on display, but they run into about $3 million worth of artwork. So we are looking at potentially seeing some of those massive historic pieces being lost in this fire. It's very significant for South Africa.
Wow.
Wow, Candice.
There's also talk about perhaps the first historic Afrikaans document in that building if it gets raised at fire. But perhaps the good news is that no lives were lost
at this time
from this arson.
Now, I mean, Candice, we understand that the policymakers are on break for the holiday, but can you tell us really going forward what will happen to the parliament, especially after the holidays?
So our parliament usually resumes in the second week of February, and that's when we have the State of the Nation address, which our president usually addresses. That we've been told by our policymakers will continue, it will go ahead. It potentially will not be able to go ahead at Parliament, but the city of Cape Town, which is the municipality in which Parliament falls under, has offered various other buildings for this the State of the Nation address to go ahead. So it potentially will happen at the City Hall, which is not too far from Parliament. And then various other debates that usually take place at that time could happen at the chambers of the city of Cape Town. So there are alternative plans that have been put into place, and we definitely will still have our State of the Nation continue, but it won't happen at Parliament, where it usually has happened for the last at least 27 years of democracy.